I really tried to stay out of this. But this is about the Games Workshop intellectual property copyright crackdown, and the result I think it's actually going to have. Check this out. I basically wanted to stay out of this because I feel like a lot of the sentiments that I have towards the situation are already echoed by other YouTubers. The number of videos about this is kind of staggering right now, but Major Kill, TTS, obviously, Brava Afabusa, Wargamer Fritz. More YouTubers than I can name have basically taken up the situation, and I was kind of like, well, I generally agree that I think this is a stupid move, that it really doesn't need to affect the community the way it is, but at the same time it got me looking at something in a more positive light, and that's what I want to go over here. So what we're running into here is the situation with Games Workshop is they've suddenly decided that any fan content, be it animation or lore or fiction or drawings or anything like that, they basically have stated openly that they're going to crack down and that they're going to come after those kind of channels and protect their intellectual property, which from one standpoint I can sympathize with. I work in law. I've worked and dealt with, you know, to some degree, copyrights, patents, that kind of thing, and I understand when someone creates something and they're getting value from it that they want to protect that. At the same time, if you really look at what the YouTubers in the community have done, what the bloggers, what the guys have done with lore channels and bat reps and fan animations, Astartes was gorgeous, and it probably drew more people to the hobby. But now, Games Workshop has basically said, join us or fry. Well, we saw what happened there. So the thing that really annoyed me about this was the fact that it's a way to kill creativity, and it's a way to sort of rein in all these creators and then make it exclusive. In other words, Games Workshop wants you to pay for Warhammer Plus, the subscription service, to see all their animation, all their content, all their reviews, all their painting videos, whatever it's going to be. And some people are totally fine with that, but the fact that you just nuked all creativity is really something that's off-putting a lot of hobbyists. Now, that's what I didn't really necessarily want to get into because it's been said by other people. It's been brought up before. But the thing that really got me looking at this, and the thing that really got me thinking in a more positive light, is what this creates in the community. Now here's what I literally thought of this, and I came up with it referencing something totally different. And if you're a sci-fi buff, you're going to absolutely love this. This was reminiscent to me of something out of the Dune universe, and if you've not read ahead, there's going to be spoilers here, so maybe just skip a little bit in the video. But there comes a point in the Dune universe where there's this resource that allows people to get around to use psychic abilities, the spice, right? And the ruler of the universe decides, in order to create a scattering of humanity, in order to protect it and to keep it from destroying itself or stagnating too much, that he gathers unto himself all this resource and all this spice for himself and severely and harshly controls all the people in his empire. Well, the result of that is eventually they overthrow him, kill him, and scatter out into the universe. Okay? In other words, his whole point was to impose all this control to protect and ultimately foster growth in humanity. Well, he called that the Golden Path, and I saw a meme, and I literally said this before I actually thought what it meant, but it reminded me very much of that situation. This is what I actually think is going to happen, and this is the silver lining in Games Workshop. They have long been the monopolists of the miniature gaming industry. They have had these games of Warhammer and Warhammer Fantasy, now Age of Sigmar, for years, decades. They are the premier standard of a gaming company, okay? And they are not entirely, and there are people who are fine with this, but they are alienating their fan base and they're alienating their customers. And the creative ones and the ones that are hobbyists, okay, are going to find other gaming systems and they're going to find other things to do. Or they're going to use their models in the way they want to. They'll basement game, they'll play old editions. I've not really gotten too much into this. I really don't like where Warhammer has gone. And I've got the track record to show that I've seen something different. I mean, just going over it, this was my first codex back in the 90s, okay? This was 3rd edition. We're up to 9th right now. I jumped on the Space Marine bandwagon. This was my codex, okay? I wanted to play Dark Angels. This was the supplement for it. And it was a grand total of $10, all right? That is the game I entered into, and you didn't need all kinds of books and all kinds of rules and all kinds of extra stuff just to play the game, okay? You needed a rule book and you needed a codex, and it lasted you for several years. There weren't all kinds of updates, there weren't all kinds of changes, and there was a workable system, okay? Now, if I wanted to play Warhammer 40k, what I basically need is a rule book, a Munitorum points value for all the models and upgrades and changes, a yearly chapter approved, which is going to have all the little tweaks and changes to the rule set, and almost every single army has these special army lists in campaign books. And the problem with those is they're getting changed every couple of minutes. So my gripe basically is that I don't find Warhammer to be a quality game anymore. And in the interest of simplifying it, all they've really done is introduce a lot more rules and a lot more difficulty in just enjoying the game. It's hyper complicated from what it used to be. And I know I'm showing my age a little bit here, but does that really matter? Anyway, I'm getting off track. So this is what I see happening, and this is why I see it as a good thing. I think that people are going to embrace this as a means to get out and play other games. And if you look at the diversity of tabletop games that exist today, it's nothing like it used to be 10 or 20 years ago. There are so many games to get into. There are so many different systems and different levels of play that could quite literally cater to any hobbyist. You've heard me use that word a lot of times. What is a hobbyist? Well, I don't consider myself a Warhammer player. It's not that I don't play Warhammer, but I don't consider that all I do. I'm a gamer and I'm a hobbyist, which means I'm into multiple things. I build and craft terrain. I play multiple games in multiple genres. I play Magic the Gathering. I play Dungeons and Dragons. I play Warhammer. I play War Machine. I play Cav. I've played Battletech. I've played D&D. I've played Battlefleet Gothic. I play Risk. It's not really a tabletop game, but you see what I mean. I'm not limited to any one thing, in other words, and this is what I think people are going to do. I think more people are going to go to other companies and other systems, and they're going to build bigger fan bases over there. And the ones that want to create fan animations and content, there are companies that are embracive of those kind of things. Not to the point where they hire you or shoot you, but they're willing to accept it. They're allowing those things to occur and to exist. I think this is going to create a golden age of gamers, honestly. And I think there's always going to be Games Workshop and Warhammer Plus. I don't think that's going anywhere. But what I think it's going to be is you're going to have a dedicated crew who just does that. And you're going to have your guys who play Battletech and who play War Machine and who play D&D and who play Risk and who play Armada and who play Warpath and who play Kings of War. And you're just going to have this massive group of gamers that don't necessarily all interact with each other, but you're going to see much more diversity in gaming. And I really think that that's something as a community we probably have been moving towards for quite a long time. More companies have sprung up, more games have been released in the last couple of years, more models, more technology. 3D printing is making this more accessible to anyone, basically. So, no, I'm not going to go on some big rant about boycotting Games Workshop and refusing to use their products or buy their products. My gripes with the game are just my gripes with the game. And business-wise, I'm going to get into a little bit of my personal philosophy here. It's my belief that your income, your take from anything is based on what you put into it. And I believe in terms of a company that is providing a service or providing a product, it has to exchange quite a bit of value with its customers and its buyers, or it's not going to be around very long. The viewpoint of quality over quantity, or marketing or pizzazz or anything like that, hasn't really been a new concept, but I'll show you a far-reaching example. Part of the reason I got into copyrights and IP and all that stuff, I work legal, okay? Not totally in that field, but I work in consumer law. Now, I work with automotive companies quite a bit, and there's a concept that came around shortly after World War II. There was an American economist who went over to Japan when they were sort of remodernizing after the war and rebuilding their economy. And he came with the concept that things should be of a high standard and a high quality so that you can actually produce a product that the customer is satisfied with, that also doesn't then require a lot in the way of refunds or repairs or changes or fixes or anything that basically detracts from the value and the money that the company already earned. Go figure, surprise, surprise, that company is Toyota. Now, if you know anything about Toyota, you know you can pick up one of those cars and they drive into the 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 mile range, which is quite a lot compared to some cars today. Americans at the time laughed at this guy. They thought he was nuts. They thought the idea of producing cars that didn't need to be taken in or defective or anything like that was insane. It was just a natural consequence. Well, it isn't, obviously. That company makes some of the most long-lasting cars in the world to this day. That's just a fact. People will buy Toyotas and Nissans and things like that to some degree over other cars. It's how that goes. I think there are companies that are taking that same kind of concept and applying it to gaming. For example, as I complained earlier, the number of rule books and the number of items you need to basically play a game in Warhammer compared to other ones. You could easily spend $100 just on rules for Warhammer. Now, that's not necessarily a lot or a little amount of money, but the problem with that is, why would I do that when there's a company like Privateer Press? They do War Machine, Hordes, they're creating Warcaster. They put their rules online. You can download the rulebook as a free PDF digest. You can download the cards for the individual models as PDFs and cut them out and print them and do whatever you want to do with them. They put everything on an app, which, yes, that you would have to pay for, that you would have to buy. It's something they keep more up to date. But if you play like I do, which is older school, you like paper and pencil type stuff, the rules are free. And when they update them, they change. All you have to do is buy the models, which are a decent quality and not anywhere near what Games Workshop charges. In other words, Privateer Press won me over because they had excellent service. They provided the rules for free, despite the fact that they change, and their models are not bad quality at all. I've had one that had a slight defect, and I could very easily fix that with green stuff or putty. I did. I'm a happy camper. I'm really not complaining. Okay? They give you more value than is taken by the dollar amount you're paying for their products, in my opinion. And economists will say that's not necessarily a good idea in the value of it. I think it's an excellent idea in the service of it. And I think with this change, that's what we're going to see more of. So I would love to invite any discussion on this. Go ahead and leave me a comment if some of this rings true to you, or if you have a disagreement. I'm not looking to, feed the trolls here, but I definitely welcome your opinions. And if you want to talk more with me over this, if you want to see what other games you can play, maybe you are only a Warhammer player and you're like, what do I do now? I really disagree with this. Well, me and a lot of other content creators know games you can jump into. So feel free to ask me if there's something that you want help with or you have a question on, whatever it is. For the millionth time, this channel is here to help you guys and to give you my knowledge and my tips and things that I've found successful. That's what I do this for. So if this has helped you, please give me a like, give me a sub, pass this on to your friends, and let's have a good discussion in the comments. Stay savage, guys.